Hello and welcome to episode 14 of the Redcast, part 2 of the 4-part series of CRM for nonprofits. I'm the host, Eric Landon of the Redcast, and in this next part we're going to be talking about the detail of why nonprofits and foundations and higher education organizations really need to consider having a CRM and all the advantages that come with it. Why Salesforce for nonprofits, foundations, and higher eds? He pulled out a really good point, which is if you're a qualified 501c3, you get the Salesforce.org grant, which provides 10 free enterprise licenses, which is a huge step up for small nonprofits that, you only need a few users. You have everything you need in there to build that foundation. So why else? What are the other reasons for Salesforce? So we have all these other cool tools. We got these pre-built connectors.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the ability to customize and configure. Salesforce by no means is a turnkey solution, and let's make sure we all know that and understand that. But what Salesforce does have, and I've heard this countless times spoken by many people, copyright the many people, that you have access to a 747 now.
Yep.
And the way I like to explain this is that you have the shell to that 747, and you have maybe the seats, and you have the engines, and you have the, all the cart trays and everything you need to make that 747 a possibility, but they just may not be installed yet. And so that's where Salesforce becomes a blessing and a burden, and where I like to look at is more on the blessing side is that I can choose where those seats are laid out. I can choose
for your use case.
For my use case, I can put I can put 6 wide if I wanted to. I can put 2 wide and then put
to make it more comfortable.
I can make or put the chairs together so you can have conversations going. You can pick and choose how those seats are laid out, and that's really where Salesforce sets its apart. It sets itself apart from the others is that you can really customize and configure and tailor it to meet your needs, and it gives you a really good shell. So Salesforce itself, the Nonprofit Success Pack or HEDA, they give you a good shell and actually some good building blocks to use and be up and running rather quickly. And then from there, you can tailor it to do things of what you want. And that's really what sets Salesforce apart, and why I think Salesforce is a really good tool, is that you can tailor it and make it yours, whether it be the processes that you're wanting to have, so automations, maybe it's fields you want to track, maybe it's how the pages look. I think about Lightning and all the really cool things we can make with page layouts, and that's something that doesn't really exist in any of the apps right now. It's kind of you drop and drag and you build the page layout to make it look and feel where it's efficient for you. And
I also want to throw there's not a lot of technical expertise that go in. I mean, you need to know like the foundational administrative side of Salesforce, but you're tailoring it for your specific use case, your experience for your users, versus a turnkey solution that's, sorry, you're a foundation or a nonprofit. Well, this is what you get. This is what we have. I mean, there might be some differences, but it's your specific organization can have total control over processes and automation.
Exactly, and with a great point with the drop and drag interface. There's a lot I can do with the drop and drag interface. I can't connect my printer at home to our wireless network, and so the fact I'm able to use Salesforce and be able to build on Salesforce and doing so in such a advanced way is really powerful. And so there's a lot of things that we can do to make Salesforce really powerful within that drop and drag interface for someone like myself that isn't super tech savvy, but if I know how to navigate with the mouse, and becomes where really the biggest barrier is it's less about knowing if it's possible. It's knowing how do you do it and finding, okay, which page do I need to be on? If I'm trying to create an automation, it's understanding, I need to be in a process builder. If I'm wanting to create, say, a validation rule or something that I can want to prohibit users from entering data in a certain way, I have to be in the validation rule section of kind of setup. So it's more about navigating where do you need to be than how do you actually achieve it? Because once you get there, I think it becomes intuitive. There's probably some that may disagree with that, but I think it's rather intuitive once you get there.
That's the balance of it.
You just play with it and try to see what happens in a sandbox org, and hopefully it works eventually.
Well, I think that's the idea too. Is you mentioned it's a blessing and a burden, where it's it's not a turnkey solution. You can configure it, and I think that's a trade-off that a lot of people need to realize is. If you want it to make it work around your specific processes versus you have to tailor your organization around a platform, which is sometimes in many ways counterintuitive because this doesn't make sense for my organization, and it's almost like they have to do two steps backward to get the platform to work for them versus Salesforce. Yes, there's more customization configuration that goes into it, but the end result is it's going to work for you. I think that's a key point is you're not having to make the system or you work around the system's limitations. There are really no limitations. I think you've coined the term many times. It's like if you can dream it, you can build it.
Yeah, exactly. I think a prime example of this would be the foundations and using Salesforce for foundations. There are a couple apps that exist out there that play with Salesforce, and if those apps make it more turnkey, but if those apps either are cost prohibitive or maybe don't fit your needs, you still have Salesforce that you can build effectively what they're doing to solve your use case and your specific processes. Whether it be a letter of inquiries and how that works. I mean, you're doing it in a slightly different flavor, or the actual application process, or even the reviews, whatever that may be. You're able to take the building blocks that Salesforce gives you. It's kind of like Legos.
Yep.
You have all these blocks, and just as a matter of, are you going to make that really, really cool looking dinosaur, or is it just going to look like this blob that you just stack stuff? And you can make that really cool dinosaur with the same number of bricks that it would take. And it's really more on what's the imagination and what are you wanting to do, and how does it relate back to your existing processes.
Thanks again for watching this video or podcast. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe. We highly encourage it and really welcome the support. You can find all of our other discussions on YouTube, Stitcher, or iTunes. And this is where you can find our other topics about marketing automation, CRM, Salesforce, and